Well, thank you so much for joining me for the Meet the Agent podcast. I'm excited to get to know you, learn about your business. So if you want to start out, just kind of talk me through your business and how did you get into the real estate industry?
Well, I got into the real estate industry about 15 years ago. It was a process when I was actually selling my house and buying another house that when I met with the listing agent back then, just didn't really guide me through the whole process kind of thing. I kind of did it myself.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of took to me like, if people out there as first-time home buyers, are going through the same situation, I really wanted to help them. So that's how I really got into this, is to help people and to educate and to teach them.
Okay, that's awesome. And what were you doing before you got into real estate?
I actually was working for FedEx.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked for FedEx for 20 plus years. And it was like, I always loved it because I get to meet different people every day. And it kind of prepared me to get into the real estate, because I was meeting, different people from different, title companies and things like that, and lenders, and just able to network with other people. And so I was able to use that at that time to kind of nurture me and to build me up to like, hey, I could take this into another career.
Definitely. So how was the transition from FedEx into the real estate industry? Since, you were doing a lot of the networking and you were getting to know, those key people, those key players that you mentioned. What was the transition like, and what kind of things did you have to do to prepare yourself for the real estate industry?
Well, at the time when I started doing real estate, I was still working at FedEx, and it was a process to where I was working in the mornings and the afternoon doing the real estate side, and doing the classes, trying to get off early enough to go attend these trainings, these real estate trainings. So it was a little challenge at first, but it actually prepared me, because the transition, once I stopped working with FedEx, it helped me go into preparing to my business to be a full-time realtor. And so the transition, it was pretty smooth.
Okay, that's awesome. That seems like such a jump, but when you put it into perspective, you seem pretty prepared for it. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it was all about networking. It was preparing me to be able to network with other people.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. So tell me, what brokerage are you with, and why did you come to select this brokerage?
Well, actually, it is my own brokerage.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's my own brokerage. Me and my partner, Adam, he's my business partner, and we actually, I would say October is when we opened our doors here. So we've been, since October, we started, there was 5 of us, and then now we're up to 22 agents.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's huge growth.
I would say within the 6 months, things are just going. Then obviously with all what's happening with the COVID-19 and the way things are with us, with the way the whole world is reacting right now.
Definitely.
It put a little damper, but I think it's pushed us to the point where we're still able to be an essential part to help people, and even if it's not real estate, just to help people.
Absolutely. Yeah. So going off of that, actually, I'd love to just go ahead and dive in and kind of ask you, so as a newer, brokerage, how has your team adapted to everything that's going on with COVID-19?
Well, a lot of the agents are still working. They're still working. And that's one thing that, I tell them that, we have to grow and adapt during these times. And one of the ways we're adapting, we're having trainings every Monday and Wednesdays, so that the agents are still getting involved in what's happening. We have our trainings for our new agents and even our experienced agents, that are just so we can inform them how to conduct things safely during this COVID-19. And we have, obviously the coronavirus procedures that we have, that each county and each state kind of mandates. So we're just trying to give them the information, and a lot of it's giving them the right information.
Definitely. What would you say is the biggest challenge that your team has had to overcome due to all of the limitations that are being brought on by the pandemic?
The face-to-face, you know, how to conduct business virtually.
Yeah.
How to conduct business on the phone more, instead of having that face-to-face connection. Because, in any business, well, especially real estate, it is a face-to-face business where you meet your buyer, you meet your seller. But it's still, now we just have to adapt and use the tools that we have that are available to conduct business in a way that it's safe for you, your client, and your and the families.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you tell me about any of these tools that you guys have, started using that you didn't necessarily use much before all of this?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've actually we've been doing Skype calls with a lot of our agents in the beginning, and then we found out that Zoom was a lot easier to share screens, but and easier to manage. But a lot of them, I think, are really adapting to it, because all they have to do is download the app on their phone or on their computer. And also, there's other tools out there, like, you can use Google or even Messenger to have these face-to-face video chats. Also, too, is like one of the things that we're still implementing is reaching out and contacting your clients. And we have a system, we use Chime as our CRM, but also we have other platforms that obviously, like set schedule leads that we get, which is great. I love it. And then just making that contact with people, just making that call, doing that follow-up call.
Absolutely. Well, I'm really glad that you guys are able to adapt, especially as such a young brokerage. But it sounds like you're on the right track. So the last thing I want to ask you, just before we steer away from, all the craziness of COVID-19, how do you foresee the future coming out of the pandemic, and what changes do you think the industry is going to see due to everything that, people have had to adapt to over the past month or two?
Well, a lot of businesses right now, and I see it because I've talked to other brokers, and I just got off a town meeting with our board, and a lot of it is just trying to apply these new rules, trying to apply these new forms that we have. We have what's called a CVA, COVID coronavirus addendum. All these forms, just implementing in our business to where we're using these forms correctly, and how to just inform the seller, inform the buyer that, hey, this is how we have to do business now. It's not that we can't go back to business as usual. We have to have a new procedure. We've actually had a new marketing tool that my partner and one of our assistants is working on, to where this is the new standard procedure on when you get a listing, how to do a listing presentation. So we're kind of implementing everything that's given to us, and we're trying to streamline it so it's easier for the agent just to follow it. It's basically an SOP, standard operating procedures.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you guys are keeping going strong. That's good to hear. So I'd like to kind of steer the conversation back to you and your experiences in the real estate industry. So you've been in the real estate industry, you said, for about 15 years now. What has been the most exciting or your favorite part of practicing real estate?
To me, it's like working with first-time home buyers. I love working with first-home buyers, to educate them and to see that joy when they get their keys to their new home. A lot of times, these first-time home buyers, they really don't know the process or how to go about it. They think, well, I have to have 20% down, or I have to have a really great credit score. So be able to educate and to help these first-time home buyers. To me, I love working with first-time home buyers because their expectation, they're just soaking it in. And if I could just reach and go past their expectations, I mean, it's just, that client is a lifetime client.
That's wonderful. That's such a fun experience to get to, see and help someone through, and be able to support someone in that way. That's great. So what would you say is the hardest transaction that you've ever encountered?
The hardest? Well, they're all different. Every transaction is different. I mean, I was doing short sales back in 2008, working with REOs back in 2008. So there, to me, it's not how hard it is. It's finding the right answers for them, finding the right answers for your client. Like with short sales, I kind of felt that they didn't have the procedures down, that the banks didn't have these procedures down when everything started. And it was a long, drawn out procedure. You know, I always tell my clients and buyers, like, short sales doesn't mean it's going to be a quick close. Yeah. It's going to take a long time. So those were kind of the challenges, I would say, in my career in the beginning. But to able now to have a certain procedure, how to do things, makes the whole process a lot easier. So there's not really, to me, there's not a hard transaction. I think because every transaction is different. And one thing I know in this business is that every client's needs are different. So it could be, you know, you could have two same buyers have the same qualifications, same things, but their needs are different. Mm-hmm. So it's always about the client first.
Definitely. So it's funny that you mentioned, 2008, since you've been in the real estate industry over the past 15 years and, you have worked through the recession. Can you tell me about some of the changes or developments that you've experienced throughout your time within the real estate industry? Just how have the times changed and how's the industry changed with those times?
Well, a lot of it's technology. A lot of it's the technology that changed. So you really have to adapt to the technology. You have to adapt to the certain tools. And I mean, before we didn't have DocuSign or digital and you would meet your client, you have about 50 pages of disclosures you have to go through, and you sit down with them and go through it, that was the procedure. Now you can email it to them, talk to them over the phone, and kind of guide them on what these disclosures are. I mean, I still like to sit down with my first-time home buyers and explain it to them. Now with Zoom, that even makes it a lot easier. Mm-hmm. So it's just explaining the whole procedure from start to finish is what I see that's, the change, and implementing all these tools that we have, with DocuSign, our business, a lot of our business too is like, it's online. You could go and you can submit an offer online. You can submit an offer to the agent. Everything's done by email. I mean, before you used to have to do faxes.
Yeah.
And so now it's not a fax. You just email it. So it's actually what's happening now. I would say the change from when I first started to now, it's lots more simpler to transact.
That's awesome. Well, so you mentioned how, all of your different clients have different needs. I want to ask, what's the strangest request that you've ever received from a home shopper or a seller?
The strangest, well, I would say I had one Oriental family that the house needed to be feng shui.
Okay.
So making sure that the door was facing a certain way and a window was facing a way. So I would say that one was more of a challenge to make sure that was, I wouldn't say it was strange, but it was more challenging because whatever houses were available, I had to make sure that, okay, it's not on a T intersection. It's not, the sun rises a certain way and it's a certain way. So yeah, I would, those, I don't think it's weird, but I think it's just how you apply it,
Let's talk about your business strategy. So you just started, your own brokerage in October, which is such an amazing feat. Tell me how you've built your book of business over the years in your time in the real estate industry.
Well, the way I kind of built my business was always by networking. And that was the main thing I always, even back then when I started, I managed several different offices, but I always tell the agents, you have to network with other people that your sphere of influences, people in your church, your, baseball team, or whatever PTA, whatever club you belong to. and even family members, let them know that you're doing real estate now. Sometimes they forget that you're in real estate.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just working with your sphere of influences, and that's how I kind of built up my you know my referral system, to where I would work with the client, and I mean just 100% with them, and then at that time, ask them for the referral. Say, hey, if you have a family friend or a member or anybody that needs help, please give them my card, pass it on, because that's how we get we do our business by referral. Obviously, times has changed, and now there's a lot of different lead generation companies out there that are great, but it's also finding the right lead generation company. But the way I kind of started was always by referrals, by working with close people that I know, that they know me. They want to work with me. They want to work with me, not a brand. It could be Remax, whatever, Cold Banker, AHS, but it's me, that they want to work with.
Definitely. That's awesome. So you mentioned, the different types of ways that, you get referrals, and now there's all these lead generation sites. What is your approach after you acquire a new lead? Whether that's a lead from a lead generation or it's a referral from a family member or friend. How do you reach out and follow up with that lead once you do acquire them?
Well, one thing that we have here at our company, we use Chime, which is our CRM. And anytime a lead comes across, or somebody accepts a lead on their phone from Set Schedule, Opcity, or even Facebook, or even on the website, it captures that information. And within seconds, they're getting an email, they're getting a text from us that say, hey, we're going to follow up with them in a few minutes, or in about 7 minutes or so. So that's how we're doing a little follow-up. And then once they kind of transact and reply, then we make that call, because you have to make that call to them to make sure, hey, there's a live person behind this, and kind of see how serious they are when you get purchasing or buying a house. So we have a CRM, it's called Chime, that works fantastic with any platform, any lead generation platform that you have. Again, it could be Set Schedule, Opcity, Homes.com, Realtor.com, Zillow, and then when it comes in, it captures their information, and they're able to give them some information back, because that's what they're looking for. The consumer is looking for information, and how quickly you can get that information, and how quickly you can respond to them.
So do you mentioned that you like working with first-time home buyers, but do you have a core specialty or a specific client base that you work with mostly?
I work with everybody. I work with everybody. I love working with, baby boomers. I love first-time home buyers. It just depends on what their needs are. So I don't have a specific, because I treat them all the same. They're all different categories, but I treat them as all as client. And to me, it's building a relationship. It's about building relationships. And that's where, it could be, if they're a first-time home buyer, then we build that relationship on it. If they're, somebody, a baby boomer that they're trying to downsize, then, you kind of work on a different way. So I always tell my agents, one of the things you have to be in this business is a chameleon. You have to kind of understand and listen to what your client's saying, so you can understand how to help them.
Definitely. I like that saying. That's good. A chameleon.
Yeah.
Great. So the real estate industry may be one of the toughest and most competitive industries, as you know, of course. So especially when it comes to meeting your goals and dealing with rejection, how do you stay positive?
Well, the way I stay positive because there's always going to be somebody say, no, I'm not interested, or no, I don't want to. You have to kind of move on, and it's going to take maybe 10 calls to actually get that one person to transact with you. But if you constantly just making sure that you're moving on and reaching to the people that actually want to say, you want to help, and they need help. I don't take it negatively. I just think, okay, it's not your time right now. Let me follow up with you later, 1 month, 6 months, a year maybe, or 2 years. But also, just communicating and letting them know that you're still there for them. It's like when all this happened during this time with the COVID-19, I called all my clients and just called them and just say, hey, calling to check in and see how you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not about, hey, I'm calling to see if you want to go see a house or if you want to sell your property. I just wanted to see how you're doing generally, you know, because obviously these are changing times, and, you know, I think everybody's going through these situations, but it's also just being genuine with them, just making that call and say, hey, you know, I just want to see how you're doing.
Absolutely. I'm sure your clients appreciate that above all else, especially in light of everything that's going on with the pandemic.
Exactly.
So what's the number one aspect of the real estate industry that keeps you around and that has kept you, you know, so into your business over the past 15 years?
Well, to me, it's right now, I love teaching. I love growing new agents. I love helping people grow to the next level in their career. So for me, at this stage of my career as a realtor, as a broker, it's about helping people. It's about helping agents obtain, you know, their first listing or their first sale. I mean, it's so exciting to see agents call me and say, hey, I just got my first listing, or hey, I just did my first sale, I'm in contract. You know, that's feels to me, it's like, okay, I planted a seed in them to help them grow. And so right now for me, it's helping agents, helping, you know, buyers, sellers grow to the next level where they want to be at.
Definitely. Well, you obviously have such a passion for, you know, helping new agents grow and even, you know, experienced agents continue their growth. What piece of advice would you give to an agent that's just starting out in the real estate industry?
Be a sponge. Be a sponge. Learn everything that you can about real estate. Learn all the tools. There's so many tools right now for a new agent there's so many videos out there you can watch, so many seminars. So yeah, you know, attend seminars. Obviously now it's going to be online, but attend as much as you possibly can, so it kind of grows you to be more knowledgeable of what's happening in the marketplace, what's happening in the area, and just kind of grows you, you know, from the inside out, you know, and, you know, just having that knowledge to be able to help somebody else. So just continue learning during these times. Instead of watching Netflix, watch a video on the, you know, how to sell a property or something on YouTube. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Kenny, I admire your passion and, you know, your enthusiasm for what you do. I think that's really, really awesome. And it's apparent that that's why you're so successful in your industry. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Well, you know, one thing I would love to, I would just say during these times, let's not be self-centered, but be helping people to grow. If somebody's in need of something, doesn't matter what it is, they may need a mask, they may need some gloves, or whatever it is, you know, some water or whatever their need is. Reach out to them and see what they need, see what you can do, you know, so that way, you know, they could pass it on to somebody else. And if everybody pull together and help their next brother or sister out, you know, I think the world will be a better place.
Absolutely. Those small, you know, careful moments, they do go a long way, especially in times like these.
Exactly. So a word of encouragement, maybe.
Yep, exactly.
Good.
Awesome. Well, Kenny, thank you again so much for joining me for Meet the Agent. It was such a pleasure to talk to you. I wish you the best, especially through everything. I hope that you and your whole business stays safe and that you're able to keep growing as you have been.
Yes, we're going to be around for a long time.
Awesome.
Okay.
Great.
Thanks, Margie.
Thank you, Kenny. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.